is going on, Internet? Eric Bandholz back again with another e-commerce conversations. I hope all is well on the other side of the internet. On the other side of the internet, from me, is you. Welcome back, guys. Got another solo episode. And this time, we're talking about quitting. What is that? The elephant in the room. You kind of talk about the things that maybe other people aren't talking about. I know in our space, we tend to put it as an exit or selling the business. And that's kind of the pretty picture that we're trying to paint. But I really want to call it what it is when you decide to sell or shut down the business, you are, in fact, quitting. And I think there are valid reasons. I think there are invalid reasons, and some that are on the fence that might require you to think more about that. So what I want to do in this episode today is walk you through the most common ways and reasons why people are considering shutting down their business and whether or not it is something that makes sense or doesn't make sense. So first, let's get started with the invalid reasons I think there are to shut down your business, sell your business, quit your business. The first one is you think that running a different business would be easier. Now, I'm here to tell you that it's certainly true that there are easier businesses to run and there are harder businesses to run. However, there are easier businesses for some people to run and harder businesses for some people to run, which kind of means the skills you have or the talent you have around you will determine whether or not it's easy or hard. Basically, I want you to think about business as a series of never-ending problems that you are tasked to find, prioritize, and solve. So once you understand that's all business is, then you realize me shutting down my current business to go to this other business that's going to be easy is effectively you're spinning around in circles. You're going from one problem-solving organization to another problem-solving organization, and you think that the new one you do isn't going to have problems. Well, I think that's far from the truth. Every business has problems. The grass is always greener. And the thing is, you have solved a lot of problems already. You have gotten through a lot of hurdles. And in this situation, and probably a lot of situations, I want you to think about adding this problem to your list is how do I make sure that I'm having fun working on and building my business? That is a very real and true problem to solve. Because once you've built a business that you enjoy showing up to work every day and you've solved that problem, then it's almost the key to life. This is not to say every day is going to be a great day and you're never going to have any kind of problems that you don't want to solve or you don't want to face. I think that the challenge for a lot of people sometimes is you are dealt problems that aren't of your choice or of your actions. So, for instance, you get sued with an ADA lawsuit. That's not a problem that you wanted to seek out and solve, but comes with the territories and you have to do it. And another business may or may not have that problem, face them, but you can't run away from your problems. Is basically what I'm saying. So selling your business, hoping for something a little bit easier. I don't know. I would challenge you to, how do you make your current business easier? It's possible. You can do it. So how do you make that happen? The second invalid reason, in my opinion, is wanting to retire, to live on the beach, live a hedonistic lifestyle, to just buy cars, to travel the world. I think that is a foolish goal, in my opinion. I am of the belief that work is not a burden, but it's a gift. And that gift is optimized by working on the things that you want to work on with the people that you want to work with at a length of time that you want to do it. So doing the things that you want to do when you want to do them with who you want to do them. That is the goal of work. And when you're working in a position that don't check those boxes, then that's when you start to feel that anxiety, that strife, that yearning for something else. So you need to think about, like, again, I've got a problem to solve. My problem is, how do I build a business that allows me to work on the things that I want to work on, when I want to work on them, with the people that I want to work on with? And once you understand that's a problem to solve, then a new business, what I think people are trying to do is they're thinking that the new business is going to fix this. But if you can't fix this with your current business, then you're not going to be able to fix it with your next business. So your next business is going to run into the exact same issues. You're still not doing the things you want to do with the people you want to do when you want to do it. You've created this hole. So until you level up that skill set and you've grown as an individual, you are forever going to be facing those issues. That's why I say these are not valid reasons to sell your business, because the problem that you're trying to solve is one, or until you solve this problem, that problem will face you for all of time. And I can tell you, there are plenty of entrepreneurs out there who love their business, who spend plenty of time with their family, who travel the world, who do all the things that they want to do on their leisure, and then they still have work that brings them joy in life. Now let's get into the valid reasons for selling your business. And of course, if you just heard me, I do think as much as possible, you try to build a business that you want to live. I think business is one of the greatest gifts in life. It can give you so many wonderful things. It gives you freedom. It gives you the ability to interact with interesting people. It gives you, in some cases, copious amounts of wealth that is more than you'll ever be able to spend in a lifetime. It allows you to, contribute to your community. It allows you to serve your customers. It allows you to create and add things to the world that didn't exist before you. You functionally get to make a mark on the world through your business. Business is absolutely, in my opinion, one of the things that is truly a gift. It is truly a gift. There are, I think it's Philip Jackson and I talked about this, or I followed him. He talks about this a lot, so I might be just stealing what he's saying. But basically, commerce is culture. Like what you create and what you build shapes the world that we live in. And the world that exists to us, if you don't think about it, if you're just kind of immersed in it, like the Beats headphones that I have here and the Swiss Army knife that I have here and the painting over there, why do those things exist? They exist because someone chose to build them. Someone chose to bring them to the world, and someone chose to dedicate a portion of their life to getting other people to integrate that into their lives. And through those actions, America has become what it is. America is McDonald's. America is beautiful grocery stores with tons of options. America is fast food, coffee shops like Starbucks that you can drive through. And that is America. And all those are driven not by a top-down government approach, but they're driven by entrepreneurs and business owners and visionaries like you who have the audacity to change what they see, and not just change it, but improve it to level it up. So big fan of business. But that being said, there are reasons why you might not want to run the business. And I think top of my list is business partner issues. I've seen a lot of business partners who, frankly, are not aligned philosophically with their business partners. You cannot run a business when the two people or the three people or whoever is in the ownership position are not in agreement. It just can't happen. So at the end of the day, you're either going to have to shut down the business and then you all go your separate ways, or one of y'all buys out the other. And at the end of the day, you guys got to figure out how to make that happen and move on with your lives. And then potentially find someone who does align with you philosophically, or maybe you're better off being a lone stallion and running the business to yourself. So obviously, I've got two business partners. I've also had, in the beginning stages, we had a fourth business partner who still a great friend of mine who I love dearly. However, we did not align with how to run the business. So we had to part ways from an ownership perspective. Technically he had to quit Beard Brand, but it doesn't mean it's the end of the friendship if you make it a priority in your life to kind of maintain that. And, sometimes you need a little bit of time. Sometimes you need a break when something like that goes on, something as tense as a breakup with your business partners. But I do think at the end of the day, if you're not in alignment with your business partners and you've tried to get in alignment and you've tried to work through the issues, then it might be time to quit. And quit could mean either they quit or you quit, but something needs to change. The next valid reason I think for quitting the business is in the very early days. I'm a big believer in the minimal viable product. So you try to dip your toes in the water with a product, not spend a lot of money, see if the market responds favorably towards your product, towards your marketing message. Pivot as much as you can, as cheaply as possible, and see if you get that traction. But at the end of the day, if you're not getting traction, if the early numbers are super bad, if it feels like it's going to be a grind, my recommendation would be to hang up the cleats early before you throw in, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing something that is not something the market demands. I think building a business that is relatively easy from a customer acquisition channel is completely different than building a business that is an absolute grind to bring in customers. You want a product that really solves the pain points of a very specific audience and is easy to bring them in as customers. So that can happen in a saturated marketplace like, women's beauty, something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be the quote unquote blue ocean strategy where you're developing something new, because there are plenty of businesses like what was that little AI clip that you'd put on your shirt that would spray onto the ground or whatever. There's all sorts of things that, that would have been a lot better if they did a Kickstarter and they saw the interest from the Kickstarter rather than, spending tens of millions of dollars trying to develop this AI device. So go back to your strategy. If you haven't started your business yet, try to start it as cheaply as possible with as little money as possible, and the amount of money that you'd be okay with that going down to zero, and then learn from there. Is it possible? Is it not possible? And in this case, it's actually better to quit early than to drag your feet. Don't extend stuff. Don't place these orders if it's kind of wishy-washy. If it's wishy-washy, don't go. Unless you have this oh my God, I can't keep up with demand. Oh my God, so many people want this. How do I get all my operations in check? I would probably recommend that you keep on searching for that right product market fit. The third valid reason is going to be bankruptcy is inevitable. You've made a series of poor decisions with your business. There is no financial way that you can get out of it. You have tried everything. You have reached out to your creditors, tried to extend credit. You have tried to sell, you have tried to liquidate your products, you've tried everything. And frankly, you just can't. The business is not financially feasible anymore. I do think that's a valid reason. File for your bankruptcy, learn those lessons from it, and take those lessons to another company for a period of time to build back your self-esteem. I think start getting some wins again. And keep that journal for ideas that you have, that you've learned from, and the mistakes that you made in the past and how you're not going to repeat those mistakes. So entirely valid. It happens to many great individuals who now have successful businesses. It is not part of your identity. Failing in business, becoming bankrupt in business is not an indication as a failure. You took a risk. You tried to build something that didn't exist before. Unfortunately, through a series of mistakes, in hindsight, that didn't work out. You know that, and you can learn from that. So bankruptcy is a honorable path, and it's a far better path than the permanent decision taking your life, which I know it can feel like that's the best decision when times are really tough and you see these bills building up, but I want to tell you that you are worth it for this world, that it is something that is common, and that you will learn and grow from this, and this challenge and adversity will end, and you will find exceptional things in your life. So continue on and continue trucking. Along the same lines, the next valid reason is your health is at risk. You have put too much into your business. You are dealing with heart issues. You're doing with weight issues. Stress level is through the roof. Blood pressure is through the roof. Frankly, the business is going to kill you. I think absolutely your health needs to come first. I would, of course, encourage you to figure out how to manage your health, how to start exercising, how to integrate good, healthy practices within your life. But maybe sometimes that step away is the step away from the business and moving to something different. So always put your health first. You only have one life. It is not something you get back. Time is really the thing that is the most important thing. And if you're eliminating your time on this planet, you are eliminating your ability to bring more goodness to the world. And then the final valid reason is you have a vision for what you need or want to do next, and you need the capital from your current business to do that. So let's say, for instance, my name's Elon Musk. I created this banking app called PayPal. Well, now if I sell that, I can get a bunch of capital and I can go build rockets and get people on Mars. Like, he's not going to be able to do that without the capital inflows from the sale of PayPal. So not saying you're thinking at the same scale or you need to be at the same scale, but there are plenty of opportunities where you need new capital to be able to do a much bigger project. And maybe the project is work, but it's more of a personal work. Maybe you want to build a farm on some land. Maybe you want to donate to your university and help them build out their tennis team or their rowing team in my case. Maybe it's something like that, and that's going to bring your joy, and that's going to be the next thing that you work on. I think that's a valid reason when you have a clear line of sight that you're moving towards, rather than the invalid reason, which is you're moving away. It's like, I want to get rid of all this stuff. Well, that's a bad reason. If it's, I want to go do these things, that's a good reason. Again, in this process, I would challenge you, are there ways that you can automate your business currently to be able to do the next thing while keeping the same thing? But I do understand that focus is required for a lot of people, myself included, and having too many cooks in the kitchen can really slow things down and make it inefficiently. So those are the valid reasons that I think it is time to hang up the cleats and, move on to the next thing. Now, there are 3 additional reasons to quit your business, and I encourage you to think more on these. These could be valid, they could be invalid, and it kind of depends on where you're at in the stage, how you want to handle it, how you want to move forward. So the first one is, you've established a business, you've grown it successfully, you've hit a sustainable business. It can pay for you, it can pay for your employees, it makes profit, but you can't seem to grow it anymore. You've hit a growth plateau. Now, is the growth plateau, are we talking about a couple of months? Are we talking about a couple of quarters? Are we talking about a couple of years? That would be one of my questions that I ask. I mean, are you getting a little too impatient? Do you have unrealistic expectations for growth? Are you not prepared for the inevitable setbacks that do come with business? That not everything is linear. Sometimes it is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Are you just simply in a 1 step back and then growth is in the future? What is the issue for this growth plateau? Is it a total addressable market? Is it profitability? Are you just kind of scraping by, making 2 or 3% profit a year? Is there profit to make by optimizing for its current scale? So like maybe we've been spending a lot of money in growth, we're not growing, but if we just focus on, more profitable marketing, that frees up a whole bunch on our P&L that we can drive to our bottom line profit, make the business more profitable. So those are kind of the things that I want you to ask yourself as you hit this situation in the growth plateau. Because it circles back to the invalid reason. If you're at a growth plateau, basically that's your problem you need to solve. And have you thought about all the ways to do it? That being said, like, let's say, you've hit this growth plateau for 10 years, for 5 years, like there's no going away, and it's just not fun for you. Well, then again, it goes back to the valid reason is like, we got to think about what's going to be next. How do we, wrap up this business and move to the next thing? Not how do we leave something? How do we put something behind us? It's how do we move towards the next thing? Another moment I want you to think about it, and this is probably the hardest one because you have an established business. It's still growing rapidly. You've got people who are reaching out to you who want to acquire the business because it's doing so well. You've gotten to this position. You don't like that it's a bigger team. Maybe the problems are more systems oriented than market oriented. So you're not focused on products, or you're not focused on marketing. You're focused on like regulations and, EEOP and OSHA requirements and tax legal compliances and all the things that a lot of entrepreneurs do not get into business for. So again, like this is going to be tricky because you're going to be getting offers for your business that maybe are more than you ever expected. Maybe in your mind you said, hey, if I ever get $5 million, then, I'm going to be set for life. That number comes in. Then the question is like, oh man, you're basically presented a choice. I've got enough money to survive on for the rest of my life to take care of my family. But again, you run into the same issue where you don't know what's next. So you take money because money is available to you. You sell because it's an option for you. You make a ton of money without knowing what you would do next. I've seen a lot of business owners do this. They've built a great business. They get a great offer. They sell. They sell because it's just a bigger number than they ever wanted and expected. And then they get in this position where they have the money, they have the time, but they don't have the vision anymore. And they had fun building that business. And you're never going to get that business again. You're going to have different team members. It's not going to come back. So once that genie's out of the bottle, this is especially true if, I talked about having business partners that you don't like, having business partners that you do like. You have to think about this is like, as much as it's probably not the case, maybe sometimes it is, but the minute the business breaks up, the minute you sell it, the partners go their way. At the end of the day, the partners, their loyalty is going to be to their family. And chances are they may move to different places. They may focus on different things. They may not want to start another business, but you may want to start another business. So effectively, when you choose to sell your business and you have great business partners, you are choosing to divorce your partners with the chance that you may never get back. Now, I love my business partners. I think the world of them. I think they're incredible people. I love the time that we spend every quarter. We get together, we catch up, we talk about passions in our life. We talk about families. We've been growing older together. And for someone to come in that position, if Beard Brand was growing very rapidly and they wanted to offer us a significantly high amount, I've got to come to terms with the fact that my relationship with those people is never going to be the same again. And we might, from a realistic standpoint, you can make it an effort to do those things again, but when you don't have the business, the justification is not as valid. It's like, oh, hey, we're good friends. Let's get together. It's like, well, my family's doing this and I got graduation and I got a kid's birthday and I got, and then life moves you on. So the business is essentially a glue to help you keep those relationships together. And how much is that relationship worth? Like how much could someone pay me to divorce my wife? And they couldn't pay me anything. Like I've committed to this relationship. It's what I chose to, and that's what I want to continue to death. So not to say every business has to run to death, but if you have great business partners, understand that that is a rare thing, and you might not have that in the future when you sell your business. The final reason I want you to think on it is you're selling to a marketplace that is in decline. The easiest analogy is going to be like VHS rental tapes. Blockbuster, like how much room do they have to be able to do a rental VH thing? Of course, they pivoted and they switched to DVDs for a period of time. But, a couple of small players in their Netflix and Redbox came in and completely upended their business model. And the question that I would say is, are you selling a product that is inevitably just going to decline and go to zero? Or can you change the perception of what you're selling and pivot to a product that is going to be sustainable? So I think Netflix is really a perfect example of a business that pivoted well. They started off as, the DVD by mail, essentially like a remote Blockbuster, but they saw the inevitable decline of, physical goods rentals, and they moved to the digital platform. And then within that, they moved to a content creator. And you see that with the shows that they put out and being able to bring people in. And in that transition and that thought from, being a, movie provider through hard goods to a content producer, totally changed their business model. And Netflix is doing incredible, and Blockbuster is, just a novelty card in my wallet right now. So I would challenge you before you sell that, or before you wrap it up and close it down, is, are there any opportunities to pivot? In my case, like if everyone decided to shave off their beard, could I pivot the brand to focus on, pure men's grooming or shaving? And that would probably be the direction that I would go with Beard Brand, or maybe we pivot and we develop a new brand that sells to women, or branch out that way. So there's a lot of learnings that we have where I feel like no matter what happens in the marketplace, we're going to be able to respond to it. One of my friends who's been on the show, got to hit him up. He had Mantelligence was his blog, and he focused on really blogging, and he was making money through revenue. And basically with AI coming out, I think for him, his skill set, he didn't see opportunity to compete against AI. So for him, it made sense to sell the business. He wasn't ready for whatever that pivot was going to be. He had something else. He's got a mosquito repellent company in the works, so he can make that transition from something that's kind of moving away, and he's moving towards something. So if there is one takeaway from this very important discussion that I think you need to have in your brain, because in business and in the space, there's so much about planning to sell and building a business to sell, and basically doing this to quit is the way I see it. Is like, oh, when are you going to quit this business? When are you going to sell the business? Have you ever had ideas on quitting? Have you ever had ideas on selling? I want to tell you there are alternative options to that. There is. Have you ever considered just building a business that you love for the rest of your life? Like, that's the question I want you to ask, is like, could you just build a business that you absolutely love every single day until you're on your deathbed? And maybe your kids want to take it over. Maybe your grandkids want to take it over. Or maybe you just want to shut it down and on your own terms and not worry about the sell because you've made enough money. You've done enough things. Maybe you pass it on to your employees and you let them run it and have a employee-run company. There's so many things that you can do. Again, going back to what I said earlier, business is such an incredible gift. I encourage you guys not to be quick to thinking about quitting. There are a lot of ways to solve the problems. Don't run away from your problems. Run towards your goals. As always, this has been another e-commerce Conversations. Cheers. Keep on growing.